Oh, don't blow away, please. Oh, hello. Welcome once again to Stuff and Things, where I like to talk about stuff and occasionally even things. I'm your good friend Bradley, and today is a Sunday Stuff and Things, and on this Sunday Stuff and Things, we have stuff and things to talk about, including upcoming videos, things you can look forward to on Stuff and Things YouTube and Stuff and Things Patreon. I forgot to do the upcoming video section last week when I was talking about what the Sunday Stuff and Things video is for new subscribers. I mentioned that it was about upcoming videos, and then I forgot to do the upcoming video section. So we will do that this week. We're going to talk about what kind of photographer are you? A lot of people like to label other people in all aspects of our society, but with photography as well. And also people like to label themselves sometimes. And I just kind of wanted to talk about that because I find it a little uncomfortable occasionally. And then I want to show you the kinds of pictures that I've been taking recently. I had a journey to the state fair, not the state fair, I guess it was the Northwest Washington Fair in August, and got some good shots. And then I have another couple rolls that I just developed recently. So I want to just kind of show you what I've been doing recently. And then we are, of course, going to get into your questions, comments, and feedback in hashtag askstuffandthings. And then we'll close the show with Patreon shoutouts and updates. So stay tuned. All right, so this time we will actually do the upcoming videos section of the Sunday Stuff and Things. First of all, you can look forward to the Gary Winogrand on rangefinders versus SLR video revisited. So I posted this video a few weeks ago showing a clip of Gary Winogrand, who is a famous photographer from the 50s, 60s, 70s, into the 80s, speaking at Rice University in 1977, where he made some what I don't really consider controversial comments. I guess maybe they were a little pugnacious, but they were interesting comments about using a rangefinder camera and why he prefers it over an SLR. And this is, again, in the context of film photography in 1977, so bear that in mind. And I posted that video, commented on it a little bit, and a lot of people freaked out. It was really fun because there were just so many comments and so much good discussion. I think I have, I don't know, well over 250 comments on that video now, and they just keep coming. So I thought I wanted to revisit that video because I wanted to take into account some of the comments and some of the feedback I was getting. I wanted to maybe restate some things a little better and then try to illustrate visually what Gary Winogrand was talking about a little better. So that revisited video will be posting this Monday, early and ad-free on Patreon, and then Wednesday for everyone else on YouTube. The next video that's going to be exclusive to Patreon will be Samuel Gawith Perfection, the full review of that really interesting, I don't even know if I would call it a crossover blend, an aromatic crossover pipe blend, because it's almost not aromatic at all. It has a little bit of vanilla flavoring in it, but it's a really interesting blend. And so next week on Monday on Patreon will be the full review of Samuel Gawith Perfection. And then the week after that on YouTube and on Patreon, I will be reviewing this. This is an Homage X Starter heavyweight satin jacket, I think is what they call it. So you guys might remember the old starter jackets from the 80s and 90s. This is basically an updated version of that, and I love it. I absolutely love it, and so we're gonna be doing a video on this in a couple weeks. The Homage or Homage X Starter heavyweight satin jacket. They have every single NFL team. They have a lot of baseball teams as well. So stay tuned for that. Lots of good stuff coming up on YouTube and on Patreon. I was mentioning all the comments I was getting on that Winogrand video. And along with all the many comments saying that he was an idiot, saying that he was a jerk, some people agreeing with him, a lot of people disagreeing with him. One comment that I was noticing quite a bit is that people were either calling him a street photographer, and then people saying, ugh, don't say street photographer, he didn't even like the term street photographer, or everyone wanted to label him as a certain kind of photographer. Well, not everyone, but a lot of people. And it made me think about that a little bit, and it's something that I've thought about in the past. On my Instagram bio, it says, you know, photographer, Bellingham, Washington, or whatever, and then it says, I think, street, wildlife, fine art, or something like that. And I didn't even really like putting that because, I don't know, I don't like having to label myself or the kind of things that I do. I just take pictures of things that I like taking pictures of. If something's interesting, I might want to take a picture of it. But just because of the world we live in now, discoverability, and the fact that everything just seems to have to be categorized, I relented and put those categories down. I don't really like the term street photographer because I don't consider that to be what I do most of the time. When I'm walking around with my camera, I might take pictures of humans, or I might take pictures of just kind of like a tableau that I see in front of me that I find interesting that has no human in it. Sometimes I'm taking pictures of animals. I think, you know, when I get my digital camera and put a really long lens on it, and then I'm specifically out searching for creatures, I guess you could call that wildlife photography or nature photography. But for the most part, it's just photography. I'm just walking around with the camera, and when I see something interesting, I take a picture. And I think street photography seems very specifically about maybe taking photos in urban areas of crowds and people doing human things. But then when you think of some of the people who are considered some of the most famous, quote, street photographers, they're not necessarily always doing that. And so, I don't know. I don't love these labels. I like maybe documentary photographer, but even that isn't really exactly correct, because what are you documenting? If I take a picture of a wall with a weird pattern on it that I find interesting, is that documenting anything, or is it just an interesting photo? Is it fine art photography? I don't know. I don't like these categories. I don't like these labels. I know that in some ways it makes it easier for people to discuss certain photographers or certain, I guess, genres of photography. And just as humans, it seems like we like to categorize ourselves and other people. But I don't know, if I had to give myself a label, I mean, obviously I'm not a professional. I'm not even really that good, at least not in my opinion yet. There is always a lot of room for improvement. I'm a photographer. I like taking pictures of things. If I had to say anything, I'd say maybe documentary photographer. But again, that doesn't always work because I take lots of pictures of things that are just interesting images that aren't necessarily documenting anything. So I'd be curious to know in the comments, I know we're drawing in a few more photographers recently with some of the videos I've been posting. What do you think of all these labels, all of these different categories? Do you have a label for yourself? What kind of photography do you consider yourself a practitioner of? Do you like these categories? Do you find them useful at all? Let me know in the comments below. It's interesting because you could look at somebody like Henri Cartier-Bresson, who is considered by many a street photographer, but he was being paid. He was a Magnum photographer by the Magnum Photo Agency throughout, you know, the late 40s into the 50s and 60s. He was being paid by them to travel around the world and take pictures of things that they might have considered newsworthy, or things that they would do these photo stories and they would sell them to magazines, because at the time, that was a huge industry, was selling photos to magazines, you know, like Life in the US and things like that. And so he was, I think, literally the closest or the most apt description you could give him would be a documentary photographer, or maybe even reportage, because he would write, you know, he would almost write little stories and captions and stuff to go along with his photo stories. So, but people now, they label him a street photographer because sometimes that documentary photography involved taking pictures of people on the street. So I don't know. I think it's just kind of weird. I know famously Gary Winogrand did not like the term street photographer. He thought it was stupid. I don't necessarily think it's stupid. I don't have super strong feelings either way. I'm just kind of ambivalent about it. But I do think it's not necessarily adequate to describe someone as, I'm a street photographer, or I'm just this or just that. I think it's photography. And I know that makes it maybe a little bit more difficult to speak about specific aspects of photography. Anyway, let me know in the comments below. I'd be interested to hear what you think. Speaking of photography, I'm going to get my phone out here because I have photos on my phone. I'm not going to show you them through my phone screen. I will put them up on screen here in this video. But I have gotten, I don't know, 4 or 5 rolls that I've developed recently. And I just kind of wanted to show you some of the recent work I have been doing. We call it work, that sounds pretentious. But all of these taken with my Leica M4 from 1970, and then my Voigtlander if you're American, or Voigtlander if you're German, 35mm f2 Ultron lens. Still loving this camera, still loving this lens. It's nice. It's very nice. And they're a very nice combination together. I would love to try a Leica lens at some point, but I don't feel like I'm missing anything when using this Voigtlander lens with my Leica M4. But in August, in Linden, Washington, which is close to Bellingham, Washington, they had the Northwest Washington Fair. And it's a big kind of state fair sort of thing. I used to go all the time when I was a kid, but I hadn't been since I was probably a teenager. And I went again and really enjoyed myself. And I was able to get some pretty cool pictures, or what I consider very cool pictures. So let's just go through some of these. First of all, I just picked out a few that I thought were kind of representative. I was having to take a lot of pictures indoors in kind of these barns and stalls that they had set up for all the animals and the 4-H youth animal displays and things like that. And so I was having to use slow shutter speeds and not a lot of depth of field, but I like how this one turned out. This is, are these Jersey cows? Are cows, I don't know anything about cows. The ones that are black and white blotchy, is that a Jersey cow? I'm not sure. But I love this because to me, this just screams the Linden Fair or the Northwest Washington Fair, because we have these Jersey cows here, or the black and white cows, and then behind them, they are just tan. But I like this line of the cows behind and then the black and white cows in front. I don't know, there's something about the composition of this and the different gradations of the cow colors that I appreciate, even though it's not in color, it's in black and white. This one, I was just trying to take a picture of this weird pig chicken flag thing. And then these people kind of popped in front. They sort of photobombed the picture. But again, that just screams the fair to me. So I liked that. I liked the straw hat, the sunglasses, the look on the woman's face. I don't know. Appreciate that one. We have this old man here who you will see 1,000 of these old men at the fair. They're just everywhere. Usually they have a plaid shirt or some kind of button-up shirt. They have suspenders. And I just liked the background here with him, the barn, the wagons, and the look on his face. Here is the saddest mule I have ever seen. I just really liked this kind of portrait of this mule. I'm sure the mule was fine, but I happened to catch him when he had a very wistful expression on his face. We were indoors where they were having this horse running thing. I don't know what this event is called, but basically they would have a horse run in a straight line and then go around a pole and run back. And it was cool. And I was trying to get some photos of this, and it was difficult because it was very dark inside. And, I was trying to freeze the action a little bit. But this one ended up pretty good. I like the lights in the background, the images that you can see of the crowd. I did kind of manage to freeze the action a bit, but there's still some motion blur, so you can really see the speed. I don't know. I like that one. Here we have a man flying off of a mechanical bull. Just enjoyed freezing that action there. I like this one that's just kind of an opening into the amusement park area of the fair. I like the crowds, I like the Ferris wheel, the weird dog beast thing on the right-hand side of the frame. Again, it looks kind of timeless to me. Like this could have been the fair in the 50s, and it is the fair now. And the black and white obviously helps with that. I like this one of a board attendant for whatever this game is. I don't know if you're throwing rings on these ducks or what you're doing here. But again, this just has so much of the flavor of the fair to me. I enjoyed this one quite a bit too, with these rides and the way they're kind of foreshortened, and the way it looks. It almost looks like the one in front is about to kind of spin out of control and smash into you, and it looks like it's too close to the one behind, but just kind of, they're not in silhouette, but I don't know. I like I like the balance and the weight of the negative space to the actual things in the foreground and the background. It just looks cool to me. And then this one I snapped because, again, it looks like the people on the left, on the right and the left, it looks like they're about to just smack into all the people who are walking down below. It just looks like it's way too close. And then the people on the right in that ride, again, it just looks like they're about to be flung off into the crowd. And then I love this woman or this girl who's right in the middle of the frame or close to right in the middle of the frame who just kind of looking off wistfully. Enjoyed that one. I like the look on this cow's face. It's making eye contact. And then here, these two girls who, you know, they both got cowboy boots on. One's got her plaid shirt. Like, they just look very county and very state fairy. And then I've got some photos from the last couple of rolls I've done. And I just want to point out a couple of these that I appreciated, if I can get to them here. So this one, I don't know what this is. I don't know what it is about it, but it drew me in, and it made me want to take a picture. I don't know why I can't get a sentence out. And I think it's kind of the bare, spindly trunks of these little trees on either side, and then the strange kind of impressionistic version of what could be trees on the wall. It's actually where ivy had been growing on the wall and they had cleaned it off. But I don't know, this just gives me a feeling. I'm not sure what the feeling is, but it made me want to take a picture. Here's one of some salmon skeletons hanging in a shed. And I don't know, I found that evocative and interesting, and I love how you can just barely see a kayak kind of looming out of the darkness in the background. So it just has this cool kind of marine nautical appeal to me, little still life. And then this one, I just love. I don't know what it is. I think it's this weird juxtaposition. Some kid put up flyers around town asking people to play Fortnite and Roblox with him, which is a very modern 21st century thing, but he printed out flyers and stuck them onto telephone poles and garbage cans and things. And I don't know, there's just the look on his face, the whole thing, it's just weird, kind of uncanny. I like this little tableau of the weathered couple with their two dogs, and then the way everyone is just kind of perfectly arrayed in the frame. The two in the foreground, then the midground, and then the one in the background. Like, everyone is spaced perfectly. It makes this nice little tableau. I like that. This one is interesting. I'd seen this mannequin head, and so I asked the guy if I could take a picture of the mannequin head, and he told me that he had traded for it, and that he was planning to trade it to somebody else. It would be a good thing to have in trade. And interestingly, I have been seeing the mannequin head in the possession of other people around town. It's been very strange. But this is the one I took of him. I didn't realize at the time that he was actually preparing drugs. I didn't notice that until I had actually developed the film, so it makes the picture even more interesting to me. And then the next frame, maybe not as interesting a picture, but this is the next owner of the mannequin head. Quite strange. So I'm trying to follow the progress of the mannequin head as it changes hands throughout town. This one I really like. This is at a job site that we were working at on Lake Whatcom, and I don't know, I just think it looks great. The giant trunks of the cedar trees, and then the kind of misty mountains and the lake in the background. It's just very evocative. And then this one, I've taken several pictures of this weird giant protrusion of sandstone that's right in downtown Bellingham. And they just built buildings up against it. It just looks so out of place and so strange. And this is just another one of those pictures, but I ended up liking how this one turned out. So you see this big outcropping of sandstone and then a kind of what looks like a dilapidated abandoned building behind it. It's not actually. But yeah, I like that mood. I like that picture. And that's what I've been photographing recently with my film camera. I've still been almost entirely using film for the past few months now, ever since I got the Leica. I still don't feel like I am as proficient as I could be using this, so I just want to keep using it until I feel like it's completely second nature. It almost kind of is. And I'm sure I'll start doing more digital again soon, probably especially in the winter when it's easier to use digital when it's dark and gray and rainy, because this is not weatherproof. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed taking a look at some of the shots I've done recently. All right, gang, but now it is time for hashtag #AskStuffandThings. Remember, if you have a question for me and you would like it answered on the Sunday Stuff and Things, you can tweet at SATBradley with the hashtag #AskStuffandThings, but you shouldn't, because nobody does, and I never really ever read Twitter. But if you are a Patreon member, you can write to me via Patreon, go right to the front of the line. You can hit that super thanks button under this video and go right to the front of the line, or you can leave questions, comments, and feedback in the comment section of my YouTube videos. Just like @BatWithGlasses did for last week's Sunday Stuff and Things. So we're talking about accents. And Bat with Glasses says, I have always found that intonation and cadence of any accent is the determining factor for a pleasant listening experience, or nails on a chalkboard. So I was asking if you had a favorite, if you're an American, do you have a favorite British Isles accent? And if you are from the British Isles, do you have a favorite American accent? And then if you speak English as a second language, which native English-speaking accent is the easiest for you to understand, either American, Australian, English, and then the various regions of those areas. So we had some responses here. This is at Greg Murdoch, who says, from Ontario, Canada. I don't know if I have a favorite, but the aggressive-sounding New York, New Jersey accent is annoying. There is a Canadian accent that varies east to west. Yeah, I mean, I like New York, New Jersey and stuff. That Gary Winogrand video, he has a very strong Bronx accent. I like it, but I don't know that I would want to, like if I was dating a woman who had a very strong, like, New Jersey Carmela soprano accent, I mean, I'm sure I'd grow to love it in that case, but yeah, I see what you mean. And then, yeah, I've definitely noticed that with Canadian, it definitely seems that the West Coast Canadian accent is more similar to general American, and then it gets a little more stereotypically Canadian as you go east. The Adventures of Frog and Toad says, I'm British. That guy's accent is not a Welsh accent. It just sounds like a general Middle English posh accent to me. It's hard to place exactly which county he comes from, though, based on that short clip. So this is interesting to me. Thank you for coming in, or for chiming in. I was hoping for more British people to respond and comment on that video, because I played a brief clip of someone from a podcast. I think his name was Dr. Paul Collins. He's a historian. I think he works for the British Museum now. I'm not totally sure. I tried to actually write to him on Twitter because I wanted to ask him if he was Welsh. I'm pretty sure he's Welsh. I know I'm American. I'm not the British guy. But one thing I noticed is that he was pronouncing his R's. And most British accents, or most English accents, except maybe in the West Country and a couple other places, but in England, almost all accents are non-rhotic, where they don't pronounce the R's at the ends of words. So they'd say ca instead of car. Americans say car. For the most part, there's a couple non-rhotic accents in America as well. And I know that in Wales, most of their accents are non-rhotic as well, but there are, I don't know of any posh general English accents that are rhotic, where they pronounce their R's at the ends of words. So I'm pretty sure this guy was Welsh. But again, I'm the American, so I have to bow to the Adventures of Frog and Toad, who would probably be more of an expert here. But if any of you heard that clip that I did last episode of Dr. Paul Collins, I'm pretty sure he was Welsh. And then Les Brady says, I totally know those strawberry candies. I love those things. They taste just like the right amount of artificial. So yeah, I was talking about the strawberry bonbons that my grandma used to give me when I was a kid. And then at Michael Case says, the brand of candy you're looking for might be Brock's. They make lots of hard candies. Some guys say that Lakeland teas smell like the inside of their grandma's purse. Depends on your grandmother, of course. You might experiment with a fine-grained developer. And then he says it's Ilford that compares it to Tri-X, LOL. So they're answering a bunch of questions there. But when he mentioned Brock's candies, I looked that up. They don't seem to make a strawberry bomb-bomb. It looks like Arcor might be the brand that is the kind of traditional strawberry bonbon that I was thinking of. And then we were talking a little bit about Ilford HP5, comparing it to Tri-X, and he's saying that Ilford themselves compare it to Tri-X. And then we have some feedback from the first impressions video for Samuel Gawith Perfection. This was a Patreon exclusive. And our good friend, oh no. See, now I've already forgotten this. I like to say Jorg Westerhoff, and I know that's not how you actually pronounce it. I think it's Jorg Westerhoff, maybe? Here we go. It's a German tin with German writing on it. So the tin of Samuel Gawith Perfection I had. We about to run out of time here. I think we're okay. It says like Rauschen ist tödlich or something like that, which I think means smoking is deadly. And it says it's a German tin with German writing on it, gifted by a Dutch guy. It's me, Jorg Westerhoff. And he says the guy who can't be named. And it's at least 10 years old, so the vanilla is mostly gone, I think. Rauschen ist tödlich means smoking kills, and the other one loosely translates to Essing will hurt your unborn child. Enjoy. So yes, thank you again for that tin. I knew you were Dutch, so that's why I thought the tin might be Dutch. And when I did my little Google Translate, it said indeterminate. It wouldn't tell me if it was Dutch or German. So I know they're obviously quite close. And then CH says, maybe you could do reviews of blends that people have said have been changed, like you mentioned about Full Virginia Flake, though those would probably fall under the revisited videos you do. So yeah, I can't remember what that was in relation to in the video I posted on Samuel Gawith Perfection, but that is an interesting thing. I think it's because I mentioned that Full Virginia Flake, or that some people were saying, had I said that people mentioned Full Virginia Flake had changed? I can't remember that. But anyway, there are blends that people say, oh, this isn't the same as it used to be. And it would be interesting to revisit some of those blends. It depends on how good my memory of the original version of the blend is. There were definitely things like Peterson Irish Flake tastes quite a bit different to me than it used to. And I used to love the original, or at least the version that I first had of Irish Flake. And now I still like it, but it's not quite as good as it used to be. So yeah, I will definitely maybe try to make a list of some blends that I might have already revisited some of these, so they might be taken off the list, but blends that people have said have significantly changed that I could revisit. And then finally, Glenn Dunnington said, rest review. And I think you're asking when the rest of the review is happening, and it's happening soon. In a couple weeks, exclusively on Patreon, we will have the full review of Samuel Gawith Perfection. Thank you for all that feedback. Please keep it coming in. It really helps make the show go. But now, gang, it is time for the very best part of the show, and that is where we thank our Patreon supporters. Remember, if you would like to support Stuff and Things on Patreon, there is a link in the description box below, and it is much appreciated. It is basically essential for us to keep doing this. I like to post a lot of stuff, and if you like the stuff that I like to post, your support on Patreon means that I can keep posting the stuff that I like and that you like. All the pipe stuff that used to be posted on the YouTube channel has unfortunately been moved to Patreon now because of YouTube's policies, but you also get early and ad-free access to the YouTube videos that I post on YouTube. You get them early and ad-free on Patreon. You get the exclusive pipe stuff on Patreon, and then I'm reposting a lot of the old pipe stuff that had to be taken off the YouTube channel. So there will eventually be an entire archive of all the pipe blend reviews that I had posted on YouTube. We've already gone through dozens of them, and they're in a playlist on Patreon called From the Archives or Archives, and then they're also put in the general pipe review playlist. And $5 a month gets you into Patreon and all the access to all that stuff. And every week we like to shout out those who support Stuff and Things at $25 or more a month, the producers of Stuff and Things. People like Jason Buckner, Arcturus, Ashes of the Phoenix, The Friendly Piper, GreatGrol, Glenn, Just Glenn, David Severin, Nicholas James, Kyle Whitmore, Mr. Gibson, and Chris Caughey. And of course, the Maniacs, the crazy people who support Stuff and Things at $100 a month. People like Bob Magee. And we'll never forget our dearly departed friend, Hall of Fame member, Peter Straub. Gang, what can you look forward to exclusively on Stuff and Things Patreon this week? Well, this is a YouTube video week, so we're having the Gary Winogrand video that will be posting early on Monday on Patreon, but then the exclusive video will be Dunhill Ready Rubbed. Remember Dunhill Ready Rubbed? I had almost completely forgotten Dunhill Ready Rubbed until I rewatched this review that was from almost exactly 10 years ago. What a weird blend. And it's one that kind of came and went, and I don't remember people really talking about it very much, but my full review will be up on Thursday on Patreon this week. So check that out. 10 years old, you can see a younger, more innocent version of me. Thank you all so much for watching. Stay tuned for all the good stuff coming up on YouTube and on Patreon. But until next time, until we meet again, I'm your good friend Bradley. You've been the audience. This has been Stuff and Things on a Sunday Stuff and Things. I'll see you later.